You know that feeling, right? The excitement of planning a new trip. You're thinking about the food, the sights, all the adventures you're going to have. You've got the tickets booked, the bags are almost packed, but have you thought about what else might be waiting for you when you get there?
Just think about it for a sec. It's not one of those silly keychains. It's not a t-shirt that's 2 sizes too big. Nope. It's something way, way less fun.
That's the one, getting sick. But look, being a smart traveler isn't about being afraid of the world. Not at all. It's about being prepared. And that's exactly what we're going to break down in this explainer. Every single place we go, whether it's a huge city or a tiny remote village, it has its own unique little world of germs and bacteria. And understanding this invisible landscape, that's the key to navigating it safely and making sure your trip stays amazing. Okay, so let's get into it. Instead of trying to memorize a huge, kind of scary list of diseases, we're going to simplify things. See, most of the infections you might run into while traveling fall into just 3 main groups, based on how they get around. If you get these 3 pathways, you're honestly already halfway there. First up, we've got the most common one for travelers: food and waterborne diseases. This is the category that includes the classic traveler's tummy, but it also covers some much more serious stuff that spreads through contaminated food or drinks. We're talking about things like cholera, which can cause really severe dehydration, hepatitis E, which is a liver infection, and typhoid fever, a bacterial infection that can actually be life-threatening. All of them basically hitch a ride on what you eat or drink. All right, next up, vector-borne diseases. Now, vector is just a fancy word for any critter that can pass a disease from one thing to another. And when you're traveling, the most famous vectors are, you guessed it, insects. That little mosquito buzzing around your ear, it could be carrying more than just an itchy bite. This group includes some names you probably know, like dengue and yellow fever, both spread by mosquitoes. But it also includes things like Lyme disease from ticks, and even something as scary-sounding as sleeping sickness, which you can get from the tsetse fly in parts of Africa. And our third and final category is zoonoses. That's the scientific name for any disease that can jump from an animal to a person. And this can happen from a bite, a scratch, or sometimes just from being in close contact with an infected animal. And it doesn't matter if it's wild or domestic. The most famous one here is definitely rabies, which is almost 100% fatal if you start showing symptoms. But the category also covers things like brucellosis from unpasteurized dairy and anthrax from infected livestock. Now, some of these are pretty rare, but the risk is definitely real. Okay, so knowing these categories is everything. Why? Because as soon as you know how a disease spreads, you know the best way to stop it. Let's look at 2 totally different examples to see how this actually works. This slide just lays it out so clearly. Check it out. On one side, you've got dengue fever, a vector-borne disease from a mosquito. On the other, hepatitis E, which is waterborne. The way you get them is completely different, right? Which means your defense has to be completely different. For dengue, it's all about that bug spray. For Hep E, it's all about making sure your water is clean. 2 different diseases, 2 totally different game plans. Okay, this is the most important part. What can you actually do about all this? This isn't about hiding in your hotel room. It's about building a simple, smart toolkit of habits that'll seriously slash your risk so you can just get out there and enjoy your trip. So here it is, what I like to call your 5-point health shield. Think of these as the pillars of staying healthy on the road. And if you look closely, you'll see each one directly fights back against the transmission routes we just talked about, with a few extra layers of prep thrown in. Let's just zoom in on a couple of these. Let's talk about that bug barrier. Personal protection is absolutely everything. Using a good repellent, wearing the right clothes, that's a powerful defense. And hey, don't just assume you're safe once you're inside. A mosquito is a master at finding its way into any room that isn't sealed up tight with screens or AC. And the rules for food and water safety? They're actually super simple. That first line is the golden rule of travel. Boil it, cook it, peel it, or forget it. If you can't do one of those things to what's on your plate, just leave it. And please remember, ice is only as safe as the water it came from. When in doubt, just stick to those factory-sealed bottles. You know, at the end of the day, you can't have a fantastic trip if you don't feel fantastic. Thinking about your health before you go is just as crucial as remembering to pack your passport. So if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. It's not about fear. It's about knowledge. Being aware of the risks and being prepared. Those are the 2 best travel buddies you could ever ask for. The World Health Organization said this about rabies, but honestly, the idea applies to everything we've talked about.
What does it mean? It means your risk level is directly tied to your actions. When you choose to use bug spray, when you choose safe water, when you choose to not pet that stray dog, you are actively taking control of your health. You are lowering your risk.
So as you get ready for that next big adventure, just ask yourself this one question. You've got your flight info, you've got your packing list, but do you have your health plan? Because a little bit of preparation, well, it goes a very, very long way. Have a great trip.